Hi, I'm Edwina Kane, Director of Development at the Portland Japanese Garden, and I'm here today really just to say thank you. You are such an incredible part of the Portland Japanese Garden family, and it's a pleasure for me to meet you. I wanted to personally thank you for everything that you've done for the garden during what can only be described as very trying times. I just joined the garden staff a few weeks before we closed due to the COVID closures, and I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, so I thought this would be a perfect time for me to reach out and say thank you to start what I hope will be an incredible journey with you. One of my absolute favorite things about the garden are the many, many stories that everybody has. They are all so different, and you get different perspectives from everybody that you talk to. And I have one that I just learned that I absolutely wanted to share with you. And it has to do with the incredible space in which I'm standing, the tea garden in front of our very iconic tea house. What many people know is that the tea house was originally constructed in Japan, and then it was disassembled in 1962, where it was reconstructed here on the property and then dedicated in 1968. 10 years later, Masahiro Hamada, a master carpenter who helped build the original tea house in Japan, was visiting Washington. Masahiro heard that the new pavilion was going to be dedicated here at the garden, and so he decided that he absolutely had to visit. What was so amazing was that when he was visiting the property, he just happened upon the tea house, and the structure looked very familiar to him. And he was fascinated to discover that it was actually the tea house that he had helped construct in Japan. But what was really surprising was that he opted not to share that with a single garden staff member. And so he left. And at that time, the only thing that the garden staff knew was that this tea house had been constructed by Kojima Construction Company. In 2008, 30 years after Masahiro's visit, the garden hired garden curator Sadafumi Uchiyama. And what Sada readily recognized was that this tea house could only have been constructed by a handful of master carpenters who had this kind of skill level. And so upon his research, he was absolutely amazed to realize that the master carpenter, one of the master carpenters anyway, behind this building was his longtime friend, Masahiro. What came after that was Sada invited his friend, Masahiro, to consult with him on the building. And Masahiro and his son then spent 3 days here at the garden consulting with Sada on the building's construction and advising the garden on how to care for this building long term. What I love the most about this story is that it epitomizes how the garden connects people. It connects people from across generations, from around the globe, and what's most important is that it connects us with others from within our community. I'm not just a new staff member, I'm new to Oregon. And when people learn that, one of the first things they ask is, how does it feel to be new to this area in the middle of a global pandemic? And the honest truth is that I cannot imagine being anyplace else. It's people like you who have made me feel so welcome and at home despite everything that's going on. It's because of this space, and it's because the garden connects people in the way that it does, that I have actually felt very comfortable in the midst of this crazy global pandemic. And so I actually thank you for helping me feel at home and for making this space the space that it is. The story of the garden is my favorite story. But I'd love to hear your stories. What are your favorite spaces when you visit the garden? What are your favorite memories here? What makes the garden special to Portland? The more I know about your stories, the better I can get to know you and the garden. And the more I know about those things, the better I can serve you. And that's really what I'm here to do. So I can't wait to hear from you. Please share your stories. And thank you for everything that you do for Portland Japanese Garden.